Today we are going to discuss about another important work of 20th century, Men and Supermen, written by George Bernard Shaw, who was an Irish playwright, dramatist, and a philosopher. In the play Men and Supermen, which is basically a comedy of manners or a philosophical comedy, he is attacking the manners of the elite class of the Victorian society for their approach towards love, marriage, social conventions, and other important social norms of the society. He is convinced that the elite class of the Victorian society is taking for granted the social norms, the social institutions, particularly the pure element love and marriage. It is believed in the society that men are active, they are trying to make relationship with the female, and the female are considered passive, means that they are not trying to make relationship with men. But he is exposing this false belief that it is quite opposite in reality, because in the character of Whitefield, she is making approaches towards making a relationship with the man in the shape of Jack Tanner or John Tanner. This particular play is also called philosophical comedy, because George Bernard Shaw is explaining his theory of life force through witty dialogues. He is of the view that there is a phenomena of life force that actually is trying to make or produce sort of man that has got the higher type of capabilities, abilities, and traits, and he is convinced that has to be accepted by all the human beings, that there should be a sort of environment in which men and women they have to play their due role. The pure element of love in the hearts of both the male and female as partner, they brings them closer, and this love binds them in the social connectivity or the social norm in form of marriage. Once they are married, now they have to go towards the achievement of the better human being. So man is to produce, and the woman is the biological guardian of the production of the human beings. So he thinks that the life force, being a very creative power, pushes humanity to become better and wiser. Further, in this theory of life force, he explains that the human beings have to become superior, and this is the actually way to continue the humanity. Somewhere he criticizes the woman's active pursuance of men for marriage. As we have mentioned earlier, man, the N. Whitefield's character is actually towards influencing men for marriage, and men's exploitation of this love for pleasure seeking, right, as mentioned in the Tanner's character, is something that is violating the phenomena of life force in the universe. Further, he compares his character Tanner with Don John. Don John is actually a character in Nietzsche's spoke Zarathustra's prose work, in which Don John, like Tanner, is a man who likes freedom. He wants to be independent of any sort of the moral values or social norms, marriage, etc. He wants to live a free life. So he compares both, but in the end he comes to the conclusion that, like Don John appears in Tanner's dream, there in the dream he becomes an intellectual, and intellectual in a sense that he is actually favoring truth, reason, and intellectual progress. So he is a sort of, this is a sort of a surrender by Don John to the natural phenomena of life force. So he is saying that Tanner is also surrendering to the social norms set by the society in order to follow that natural process of life force. In the beginning, he tries his best to violate. He does not agree with Anne Whitefield for the marriage. Later on, he surrenders. So, he is convinced, George Bernard Shaw is convinced that whatsoever the men revolt against that natural phenomena of life force, but in the end it happens, they have to surrender. So, further we see the usage of literary devices in order to bring the purpose of the writer in the play. Some devices have been used like comedy of manners, paradox, epigram, satire. So, what are these? Comedy of manners is actually a type of comedy that satirizes the behaviors, the customs, the manners of a particular class, particularly the elite class, the upper class of the society. So, this is the very tool George Bernard Shaw uses to attack the upper class of the society for their behaviors, that they are violating the social norms, the social institutions like marriage, and they are exploiting the pure element of love for pleasure seeking, which is against the natural law of life force. Further, he uses another important device, paradox. What's the paradox? Paradox is actually a kind of a statement which contradicts itself in the beginning, but when it is thought deeper, it seems it would be observed as a truth. For example, we see in the Man and Superman, George Bernard Shaw says, he who can does, he cannot, he says, he who can does, he who cannot teaches. At first it seems that it is crazy, there is insult in it for the teachers, but when we think deeper, we can understand that it reveals that one cannot do anything, explains. So, teaching is something in which we explain. So, it is a kind of paradox that he has used in this particular play. Some other examples if I quote here, for example, if we say that less is more. So, at first it seems something that it's contradicting itself, the statement is contradicting itself, but when we look deeper, we come to know that it's true. Less is more. Further, the important devices have been used, as epigram is one of them. It's also known as aphorism. What is it? It's a short, clever, punchy statement. That strikes a person's mind and makes you think, or it makes you laugh. It's called epigram or aphorism. In this particular play, comedy of manner, we see George Bernard Shaw asserts as youth is wasted on the young, meaning that the young people have energy but not wisdom. So, another important device, we find George Bernard Shaw is a great writer who is always using witty sentences, sharp sentences in order to explain his philosophy here as well as in his works. Another important element is satire. Satire, is something that we attack people's behaviors, people's norms, people's attitudes, right, in order to expose their vice and bring some sort of improvement in them. So, the whole play satirizes Victorian morality and the gender roles, male and as female. Shaw's different characters like Anfield appears to be pursued, but she is actually the pursuer. Means it is in the society the role of the female is understood as that they are pursued, they do not pursue. but it is quite opposite here, that Anne Whitefield, rather being pursued, she is pursuing people for the marriage. So that's all for today's lecture. I hope in this discussion we could learn things, important things, George Bernard Shaw's philosophy of life force and other important elements. Again, if you find something difficult, you can ask me on our WhatsApp group. I'll be inshallah answering you. Thank you very much.